Yeah, so the game we took was tic-tac-toe. It is very simple game which often children play during their free time in their class. But the thing is, after a point of time, the game becomes boring because there are only certain ways. If you play only, you will win. Otherwise, most of the time it ends in a draw. So we thought we'll try to avoid that. So we tried multiple ways. Like we tried increasing the grids, so make it 4. But still, it's again not that much of strategy involved. So we try to expand the squares and make it into a type of Sudoku type of grid, and made it strategic in such a way that the next game is dictated by the place where the person playing put the mark on this box. So it essentially has an interaction between the players. First player gets to play anywhere in the grid. For example, if he plays here, the next player should play it on the bigger box which is relative to the smaller box, which means he'll play in this bigger box anywhere he wants. And the ultimate aim of the game is to bring the bigger tic-tac-toe. And if this box is already caught by 0, and if somebody is directing, say X played here and he is directed here. So if 0 is getting the chance this time and 0 already captured this box, which means 0 can play anywhere, wherever he wants. And if X is getting that chance, since this place is owned by 0, X is again, for example, if 0 is playing here and X has to play here. And since this place is owned by 0, X is restricted to play in that box itself. So that's the basic rule of the game.
No, you wouldn't push for the where there's a possibility to draw. You will always push your opponent where he doesn't have a chance.
One person in all our games, one person.
Always one.
Make X. No, you say very last. Then last you can play.
What happens if a smaller tile ends in a draw?
Yeah, smaller
If it ends in a draw, then both of them can play anywhere.
No, you can play anywhere.
If I draw here, that means she can play here.
No, she already has that plan.
Anywhere throughout the grid.
This is tough. Now you have to.
Yes,
This box.
But the instrument is big.
Big one line. Which one? Don't play that. If she wants to, she can.
See, this is ending in a draw, right?
No, it won't. This thing was done by some person, but
There is the
She'll spoil your chance.
I don't have any other chance. Oh my god, everyone is up.
You have no other option.
Yeah,
No, but like, I really would happen like it's lastly when the
she captured those blocks in the beginning.
So I think this was a very good redesign because it keeps up the spirit of the game, and it also eliminates the problems, as you said, because there are defined ways of winning. Because of the increased complexity, you can't always calculate those defined ways. So it's a good redesign.
I think this game is boring, but now I'm regretting it because this one was quite interesting.
When a box is captured and if any player is directed to this box, they can play anywhere. So what happens is they just go around filling every box without capturing anything, and in the end they go on a spree of capturing. So what we thought, we should give some advantage to the person who's capturing boxes earlier, and we thought only if the person has already captured the box, he can play anywhere. If not, the person should play in the same box.
The fact that you discovered that somebody else has done that game at some point is interesting, and this is what happens with games. This happened with one of the fun school games. Just what the messages of this are supposed to be, why was it given? See, this is happening in a sequence, right? We had a zero cost game, and now this is a redesign of a game. Why are these two important for understanding of game design? So that's what we'll go to. Yeah.